want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Welcome to the Gun News Australia podcast. It's the podcast for Australian shooters who just want the political interference taken out of shooting.
And welcome to another episode of Gun News Australia, brought to you by Politics Reloaded and Gun Traders Australia. Now, being one issue that is pro-gun voters, we're always looking at how elections affect shooters. And whether you vote this way at this federal election or you vote differently is, of course, entirely up to you. And that's because bad gun laws and bad gun policy can affect shooters in different ways. In some cases, it may not affect them much at all. For other shooters, it can affect them very much. Some shooters stand to lose a lot, and in some cases, their entire pastime or businesses. Even if you aren't affected now, think about the long-term consequences that letting bad gun laws and bad policy take hold, and why it's important to deal with them now. Now, gun laws are predominantly a state issue. The federal government's involvement is limited really to what enters and exits the borders and to maintaining the National Firearms Agreement. Now, the NFA is the central focal point for our state governments, except that those state governments tend to comply only with the NFA when it suits them. If they were true to their word, our gun laws would be uniform and we wouldn't be seeing the sort of attacks on shooters that we're seeing in Tasmania, Queensland or Western Australia. But as you know, states are coming up with their own laws, and this is something that needs to be stopped. So for shooters outside West Australia, we recommend shooters simply vote for pro-gun parties first, followed by their choice of Labor or Liberal, in whichever order, and the Greens and Animal Justice Party last. Federal pro-gun parties who may be on your large white ballot paper include Kadders, One Nation, and the Libertarian Party. Now, early voting has started, and you can find out where you can vote by using the link in the description to this video. Now, Tasmania is the only state where we recommend shooters vote for the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party. The SSFP's Phil Bigg is one of the few candidates that we feel can not only articulate the challenges and options facing shooters, but is more than happy to play hardball in the political arena where needed. For shooters in New South Wales, we recommend voting for Labor's Dan Repacholi in the seat of Hunter. Now, Dan's very much a shooter, having represented Australia in pistol shooting, and he's been busy educating other federal MPs who know nothing about shooting, about the sport, and we reckon that's a real plus. We need Dan Repacholi to be returned. Now, it's a mixed bag in Victoria. There, the state Labor government is starting to do real harm for shooters, but for now, we're just recommending that if you're in the seat of Latrobe, which is the Beaconsfield area, that you vote for Labor. That's because the local member there is Liberals' Jason Wood, who's vehemently anti-gun with a strong track record of speaking out against private firearm ownership. And in the seat of McEwen, which is north of Melbourne, in the Whittlesea area, by voting Liberal. And that's because the local member there is Labor's Rob Mitchell. Now, Mitchell has a history of cozying up to shooting organisations to get their support without ever returning the favour. Now, if you're in Queensland, then you've got the great option of voting for Kadders Australia Party. And we also recommend that you keep an eye out on the Shooters Union Australia's website for any last-minute advice they provide. Now, the big news in this election is the opportunity that West Australian shooters have to push back against the draconian new gun laws in that state. Now, the laws need little introduction. They include severe limits on what you can own and where you can shoot, and they have requirements for regular mental and physical health checks and compliance costs that are significantly higher than the rest of Australia, all brought to you by WA State Labor. So while guns are a state issue, we recommend shooters in WA take it out on federal Labor. Federal Labor candidates will try to distance themselves from the gun issue, but WA Labor hosts the federal party profiles on their state website, and they back the federal campaign, so they're joined at the hips. In other words, don't cop the excuse that federal Labor candidates will give that this is a state issue. No, make it a state and federal issue by voting that way. And tell your Labor candidates that the issue is way too important to simply brush off like that. Your vote against Labor in WA will add pressure to the Labor movement to back away from the mess that it's created. And don't forget, you can support the new legal action that has been launched in WA against the 5-gun limit. The first directions hearing has been set for this Friday, the 2nd of May, and you can back it by joining our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Politics Reloaded or using the QR code on the screen. Well, that's it for now. And remember, you can vote early or via post. Whatever you do, don't rush your vote. And take your time and make it count. We'll see you later. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Gun News Australia. If you're a subscriber to our YouTube channel, you'll get access to every episode when they're published. And if you're a supporter through Patreon, you'll get access to early release of the episodes as soon as they're uploaded. And you'll also get access to our Friday night live streams. So to support our work, simply go to patreon.com/politicsreloaded or use the QR code on the screen, or see the description in this episode for details.